Welcome to CRJ 151. This week we're looking at Chapter 9, which talks about different kinds of stimulants such as amphetamine, methamphetamine, cocaine, and crack. And the objective of the chapter really is to explain what is distinctive and characteristic about the class of drugs that psychopharmacologists refer to as stimulants, to really spell out their dangers, as well as the appeals to the drugs, and to distinguish amongst them their differences. Now, all stimulants speed up signals that are passing through the central nervous system. They also generate euphoria in the user, they offset fatigue, and they increase alertness. Now, when we look at amphetamines, they were hugely popular both as prescription and recreational drugs in the 1960s and the early 1970s. Then when physicians learned of their substantial recreational use and the dangers associated with that, the number of legal prescriptions that were written for them really dropped off. It plummeted quite a bit. And it has continued to decline on into the 2000s. Today, the amphetamines really have an extremely limited number of accepted medical uses. Recreational use since the 70s has declined as well, but not as sharply. Amphetamines are probably the second most popular recreational drug after marijuana. Now, methamphetamine, which we could call a sister drug of amphetamines, is a fairly recognized, regionalized substance that's used a lot on the West Coast, but we've also seen it in the Midwest. Now, in spite of the meth scares in the late 80s and on into the 2000s, national surveys for both students and for the general population as a whole really record a fairly low level of usage. And the drug doesn't really appear among the most harmful in the Drug Abuse Warning Network statistic, or DAWN statistics. Now, cocaine is a stimulant that's a Schedule II drug because there are some limited medical uses. It is derived from a natural substance, the leaves of a cocoa bush, which is a South American plant. Now, cocaine use has increased rapidly among young adults between ages 18 and 25, between the 60s in the late 70s, and really stood at roughly 1 in 4 for lifetime use until it began declining in the early 1990s. Now, today, between 1 and 2% of young adults have used cocaine in the past 30 days. Users do find the drug enormously pleasurable, and when they've done studies of animals that use the drug, it's the most reinforcing drug known to this point. Now, drug researchers a generation ago really underestimated cocaine's dangers. Though it's not technically physically addicting, it is so psychologically reinforcing that it generates a substantial behavioral dependence. It really ranks number 3 among all drugs with respect to being associated with medical examiner deaths. In other words, when medical examiners examine a death, it's number 3 on there of drugs related to that. Now, cocaine's cost probably keeps the use of the drug down. If it were as inexpensive, say, as marijuana, chances are that its use would be considerably greater than what it currently is. So that's a quick overview of stimulants. Next week, we'll take a look at Chapter 10, which explores heroin and other narcotics.